Let's rock, baby.
Devil May Cry is a very important game within the genre people call hack and slash or character action, setting standards and mechanics for future games, inspiring games to kick off like modern Ninja Gaiden, God of War, and heavily Bayonetta, just to name a few. To this day, the series is still a very heavy hitter within the genre. But before I get ahead of myself, let's stick to the starting line with Devil May Cry. Released 2001 for the PlayStation 2 by Capcom. It was developed by a team within calling themselves Team Little Devils. The game's themes is said to be heavily inspired by the poem Divine Comedy, giving gothic themes throughout. I first played this game back in 2001 when it released. Playing this style of game was so new to me. My dad borrowed it from the local video store. I was about 6 years old back then. As expected, I was terrible at the game. I only just started playing video games myself probably around 5, but I remember just being so captivated by Dante, with the setup of his guns and sword and having his long red jacket. Years later, I would go back to the game with more experienced gaming hands and enjoyed the experience a whole lot more. I'd continue the series from then on, playing each installment as they released. I do have the PS2 original version of the game, but for this video I played through the PS4 collection version of Devil May Cry. Alright, let's
rock, baby.
Devil May Cry evolves around main man Dante, one of my favourite characters in gaming, may I add. Dante is half demon and son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta. Sparta gets mentioned throughout the story. Hell, throughout the whole series. He was a demon that worked under the Prince of Darkness Mundus, ruler of the underworld. Mundus conquered the demon world and set his sights on the human world. About 2,000 years ago, Sparta rebelled against Mundus because he didn't agree with his cruelty against humanity. Overcoming Mundus, Sparta banished him to the underworld, fully locking the demon world away while at it. Demons would open up gateways to spill into the human world from then on. Sparta spent the rest of his days hunting demons on Earth, growing his legend. In that time he fell in love with a woman named Eva. They'd have twins, Dante and Virgil. After Sparta disappeared, Eva and the boys were left unprotected, and so the demons came for them out of revenge for Mundus, burning their home down and killing Eva while Dante was hidden. Virgil was nowhere to be seen. Skip to the DMC1 timeline. Dante is continuing his father's work by hunting demons, going as far to open up his own shop, Devil May Cry. A lady by the name Trish appears to the shop and we start off the game, giving us an amazing opening. I just love how casual Dante is about this woman messing up his shop.
Whoa, slow down, babe.
We get Dante being impaled, which becomes a big tradition for the man with later entries.
Are you really the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta? Didn't your daddy teach you how to use a sword?
Sword. Time to go to work, guys.
Then we get some RE4 Ada action.
What?
I find it funny how Capcom seems to want to do these Superman type of reveals. Trish looks a lot like Dante's dead mother, taking him back, which is why he would not question Trish as much as he should and goes along with what she is saying. Trish tells us that Mundus is trying to come back, and Dante gets the idea he will find out who killed his family. He has always wanted to get revenge on the demons that took his family away, which is why he always hunts them. Which leads us to Melee Island, kicking off gameplay shortly after arriving. Devil May Cry is a full-on action game with fixed camera angles. Devil May Cry was birthed from an early build of Resident Evil 4. It got scrapped because they thought it was too far from what came before with the brand. In comes Resident Evil 5. So instead the project became independent, with director Hideki Kamiya putting a team together called Team Little Devils. getting to work creating a unique experience outside of Resident Evil with the work that was done on that early build. There's a lot of things that you can point out that is very Resident Evil gameplay. Of course the camera, which is more like the camera in Code Veronica, where it follows through. Also being able to interact with environments, a feature I miss in games. Really does a good job to get you into the head of your character. Collecting key items to progress as well as heavily in the game like early Resident Evil. Also you can hear music pieces from Resident Evil 4 within the game. Personally, I really enjoy all those elements being in the game. It gives it such a unique feel. This game stood out for many different reasons when released back in 2001. The 3D action design of the game was executed perfectly by the team with everything being super smooth for the time. The star meter and having to continuously do combos to keep the meter up was pretty new for the time as well. You achieve combos with timing. For example, doing a double slash and pausing. Then continuing will activate a new combo. You will cycle through different combos, mixing it up to get the highest rankings and style. With that you can juggle demons in the air to continue combos even more. That mechanic was achieved from the development team seeing a glitch in a game called Onimusha that was also being developed at Capcom. Seeing that glitch they thought it was cool, and so it was made into the game to be a big feature. Since that style has continued to pop up in future games within the genre. In terms of Dante, he has on him his trusty Force Edge and Ebony Ivory, which was custom made for Dante by Neil Goldstein, as mentioned in the Devil May Cry novel. That loadout is truly iconic. I think that loadout and the design of Dante with having the long red jacket is truly iconic setup. Dante really stood out for those aspects as well as his personality. Shit talking throughout to demons, but that is balanced in the more serious moments for the character too. Getting back to the weapons, there is others you can pick up on your journey through the game, like shotgun, grenade gun, needle gun, and nightmare. Then different types of melee, Alistair, Ifrit, Sparta, and Yamato with an unlockable character. I love how when you change weapons you get a short animation with whatever you pick. Personally I would mainly use the pistols and Alistair, which is a sword you get early on, with a fitting scene to go along with it. How the hell did he get that handle through, even without ripping his clothes? Amazing. To change weapons you have to go into the menus, which I always avoided, because it just takes you out of the pace of the game. So I just stuck to those weapons, with sometimes using shotgun and Ifrit depending on the situation. Speaking of Ifrit, you can get plenty of different combos out that separates itself from your swords. Very good for close crowds. With the guns, the only one to really note that is different from your standard arsenal is Nightmare, and I didn't really find it to be that useful personally. If you are having trouble with combat, there's items you can buy with red orbs to give you an edge. For example, green stars to get back health, purple stars to fill your devil trigger, holy water to take a big chunk of damage off every enemy in the area, plenty of items to give you an edge. Upgrades play a big part too. Upgrading will give you more moves and make your weapon loadout more powerful as well as your devil trigger. You upgrade with red orbs. Red orbs can be collected throughout levels or through combat. The devil trigger is a pretty cool and useful mechanic. You will need to build it up within combat. Then you can unleash it, giving you a big advantage, making you move faster and cause more damage than usual. As well as you can fly, attacking from a distance. This mechanic is a massive advantage and a must when on high difficulties. Being able to use it at the right time will have you dealing big damage to your foes. I would a lot fighting bosses on high difficulties. wait for an opening and activate the devil trigger to get off powerful hits. Then deactivate it so I don't completely drain the trigger. Rinse and repeat. I love the design with the Devil Dante as well. Getting back to the flow of combat, there's definitely a learning curve to this game, with having to judge enemy patterns as well as getting used to Dante's movements. It had been a while since I played the first game, so jumping back in I really had to familiarise myself with the game again, because this game is damn hard. What makes it even harder is the yellow orbs. They're basically your retry if you die within a level. You use them to bring you back from death and you can reload at a checkpoint. Once you have no yellow orbs, you'll have to reload a save, starting the whole mission again you were on. So stock up on them suckers at higher difficulties. At higher difficulties you really have to find out what works best against each enemy type. On normal or lower you can normally get through without having to worry about it that much. But higher difficulties kind of force that out, or you'll be struggling on most enemies outside of bosses. Plus, even though I've played other Devil May Cry games more recently, I find the style of the first game its own beast. But once you become familiar with the game's mechanics, damn does this game feel so good to play. Especially when you go levels without being touched. In saying that, the game does feel pretty dated. But you can't, since it was a game stepping on new ground with its style, as well as being built off a more slow-paced horror game. Continuing on with gameplay, the feeling of impact is very strong. Like when you shoot your pistols, you'll feel the impact in different ways. Seeing the visuals from the barrels, the shaking of your controller, the shells hitting the floor and making a sound effect with each bullet, as well as visually seeing the impact of your hits on the enemy with them moving their head, for example. As well as using your sword, for example, doing the stinger attack will shake the camera and you'll get a big impact sound. All that works really well to make you feel like you're actually making an impact, and with that you feel really accomplished and powerful in combat. So many things work within this game to make you feel good, and it's all pretty incredible today. Amazes me that we don't see shit like this within a lot of games these days. Getting more into the mechanics, the lock-on system can get annoying sometimes, like this for example. I started hitting this mechanism to progress and then this bug creature attacked me, so I wanted to deal with it first before continuing. But Dante just wasn't having it, making me get knocked around a bit, before backing up and reassessing, before killing the bastard. Things like that did happen a bit throughout and can serve to be pretty annoying, especially if you're going for a high ranking with the level. That can also harm you heavily on high difficulties, like with the shadows. A lot of the time you'll get 2 shadows at once on high difficulties. A good weak point is to jump on their extended neck and shoot straight at them. But the lock-on system will a lot of the time lock onto the other shadow. That would happen so much to me and I would become so frustrated. If they would just add a system where you could switch your target, that would solve the problem. Now while I'm going through negatives, the camera can get pretty bad sometimes when fighting. It can even get you killed because you can't see what is attacking you off screen. I find many sections where I had to fight the camera and found myself jumping around to get a good view of whatever demon I was up against. In terms of things feeling dated, the camera is a big one. Anyway, let's get into the ranking systems. The game has a lot of ranking systems throughout. Your combo rankings build up as you mix up your attacks and can be as stylish as possible. It quickly fades away the longer you are between attacks. You have a ranking system with levels. It's based off how good you overall did, items used, timing, overall combo rankings, and how much you died. All those systems add to replay value if you're someone who enjoys striving for the best results. The real skilled ones out there can try to S-rank every level on any difficulty. What really helps with replay value as well is high difficulties will change up enemy spawns when on New Game Plus, even mini bosses, which I really appreciated the added challenge and mix-up. When on just normal play, enemy spawns can change in some areas, when you die and go back. Also with New Game Plus, you can continue to build your moves and upgrades. There's plenty to do that will have you going through the campaign multiple times, as well as secret missions throughout will test your skills. They are hidden throughout levels. Once you find them within a side location, you will get a pop-up screen to start it and it will say what you have to do to complete it. Some of them can be pretty difficult, but it's such a rewarding feeling when you beat one that you're stuck on. There's collectibles throughout the campaign as well, so make sure you really look through environments and even go back to parts you've already been in. Speaking of the campaign, Let's get more into that and the story overall. You will go through the castle mainly, finding key items to progress when not ranking up combos. Environments are great throughout. I especially love the dark atmosphere the castle gives off in later levels. Being in the dark with the lightning flashing through the windows and you can see the trees waving in the strong wind when the flash goes off, amazing. The castle, outdoor areas and underworld all look great and are interesting to explore. The game gives off a great atmosphere, especially with the music as well. I enjoyed the background music when going through the environments, gives off a creepy vibe. And of course the music when fighting is incredible and iconic. I think overall it's a great soundtrack. The enemies you fight throughout are pretty unique and there's a lot of different types to mix up gameplay and keep you on your toes. I especially love the puppets. They give off a nice creepy vibe and I love how you can see the strings attached as well. Makes it seem like you are getting attacked from an unknown force and they're using the puppets to do their bidding. With higher difficulties, taking advantage of your enemies' weak points are a must, as well as using tactics, like jump cancelling, grenade rolling, slash cancelling as well. There's a great video that I'll link in the description that details how to do tactics like the ones I mentioned. All I can't do perfect, but if you can it will give you a big advantage. As I mentioned, attacking weak points is a must. For example with shadows, a good way to defeat them is wait until they're about to extend their neck, jump on top and fire away. If it worked, they'll grow red and explode shortly after. Just be careful with them going nuts in the short time before exploding. That's a great way to get rid of the shadows. With the Sin Scissor type enemies, I always find attacking from above a great way to deal with them. And with the Frost, Ifrit works pretty well too. So find what works best with each enemy type. The bosses are the main attraction in the game though, and they always have their weaknesses and techniques to beat them best. I think this game does a great job of building up the bosses, especially with Phantom. Pretty cool first fight in the closed area. Then you'll see him again chasing you 2 different times. Then a final encounter where he is more evolved and he'll attack you with different moves. So though you are fighting this boss again, and it can be up to 3 times, the fight is changed up enough to make it feel fresh. Same goes for the other bosses too, though I felt like the Phantom was handled the best with him always being there. In terms of the other bosses, Griffin was a fun boss fight. With him you had to go at it in a completely different way than Phantom, because he was long ranged and at the same time you had to be more on the defense. Nightmare I found to be the weakest boss. You had to hit a mechanism on the wall to bring out his weak point. Rinse and repeat. I didn't really feel that engaged within the fight, even at high difficulties. I found the fight to be more annoying than anything, especially when you can get taken into a spirit zone, where you will fight a previous boss to escape. But if you avoid the snatch, then you won't have to do that. Now my favourite boss fight is with Neo Angelo, a knight looking bloke that you will fight 3 times throughout. Each time he'll bring more to the table with his moveset. He's a pretty tough boss. I found myself dying a lot the first encounter, but once you get a hang of his moveset, you'll get it. Though like I said, he changes his moveset with each fight. I love that, keeps each fight intense. Let's get into the story more. Full spoilers ahead. Dante carries around with him half an amulet, given to him and his twin brother by their father Sparta. The first time you fight Angelo, he bests you in the cutscene and almost kills you, until your half of the amulet pops out, making him react and disappear. Fighting Angelo the 3rd time, after being defeated, you will see his face, revealing to be Virgil, Dante's twin brother, corrupted by Mundus to do his bidding. The other half of the amulet falls off Virgil, making Dante realize it was him, and that is told to us through Dante hearing them as children.
Virgil, Dante, happy birthday. Wow!
This will serve to fuel his fire to go against Mundus even more. Virgil is a character that gets built on in later installments. But with this entry there's nothing really to go off with the character. It's said the original idea for Virgil before DMC3 was that Mundus actually killed Virgil along with his mother and made him into the version we see in the game. Very interesting. Moving on, you'll get a scene with Trish talking to Mundus. making it clear she is working for him. Turns out she was created by Muntus, and even made to look like Dante's mother to easily play him. I found this cutscene played a bit early though, since we could have just got her betrayal when Dante does, which isn't long after that scene. When fighting Nightmare for the last time in the underworld, Trish gets involved with trying to kill Dante, making Dante realise she is working for Mundus. After defeating Nightmare, the place starts to crumble. Something almost crushes Trish and Dante saves her. I really like the scene that takes place after that, with Dante giving the best voice work so far. Also, with Dante being mostly playful throughout, it was really good character building to see him be more serious and vulnerable. Scenes like that really connected to me to the character. Dante has a lot of levels to him that make him interesting and entertaining.
Dante!
Don't come any closer, you devil! You may look like my mother, but you're nowhere close to her. You have no soul. You have the face, but you'll never have her fire!
Now the voice acting is pretty choppy throughout the game, but I didn't find it to be that horrible outside of one line which we will get to. Also, it's pretty hard to understand what the demons are saying most of the time. It's best to have subtitles on if you want to fully understand what is said. We finally get to Mundus. We get somewhat of a build up to Mundus throughout the campaign with his 3 eyes popping up. Seeing him take out Griffin so easily was intimidating. All worked pretty well to make us realise we are dealing with a real baddie. From what I understand, Mundus created Trish and invited Dante to the island so he could fully end the Sparta bloodline. Basically revenge for what Sparta did to him, with enslaving Virgil and bringing up painful memories having Trish look like his mother. All worked to break down Dante. Plus bringing him to the island was basically a death trap since the place was covered in demons. If I'm wrong with any of that, let me know. He takes Trish hostage as well as tells Dante that he killed his mother, making Dante second guess and Dante takes advantage. Before Mundus can get a final blow, Trish saves the day. Dante unleashes his full power and we get a final boss fight. A real weird flying minigame. I didn't mind it, it just didn't really add anything. I just thought it was whatever. Same with the water sections in the game. They are okay and I wouldn't care if they weren't in the game. They only go for not even 5 minutes too. The second section of the Mundus fight was a lot better. Once we defeat him, we get back to Trish. Now here's that classic line.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
Beautiful. Dante pays his respects and heads on. Personally for me, it's hard to really feel for Trish with this game since we know she went so against us. But it's easy to understand Dante's motives. As we are escaping, Mundus appears again. Trish brings to life to help us out. Of course she isn't dead. She isn't human after all. Could have been that tear of life. With the power Trish gives us, we can do the final blow on Mundus, sending him fully back to the underworld.
Well, the way I figure it, in this business a lot of your kind comes around. And if I kill each one that comes, eventually I should hit the jackpot sooner or later.
Jackpot!
Dante and Trish being trapped all seems lost. Then a plane appeared, funny enough, and we fly off into the sunset, given the usual,
Yeah! It's payback time! We've got to destroy Umbrella! Now! Let's finish this once and for all!
oh wait, wrong franchise. Getting back to the shop, we get a nice close to the game. Though the whole Devil Never Cry shop change was pretty silly, and I'm glad it didn't stick for later installments. With that, there's the campaign. Overall, it's an amazing campaign and I always love my time going through it. I think it's a classic game that really built on the genre for the time. The genre wouldn't be the same today without this gem. The settings, unique story and characters, as well as what I mentioned before with the RE coat, all serves to make something really special. And that was Devil May Cry. I will be tackling the whole Devil May Cry franchise, games, the anime and Eddie reading material. If any of that is of interest, maybe think about subscribing, so you can get notified of when we tackle the next Devil May Cry thing. With that, thank you very much for watching, and catch you next time.